Good morning, Loyola. I'm Frankie Esteves.
And I'm Melody Newsom.
It has been a week since Donald Trump recaptured the presidency after defeating Vice President Kamala Harris. This election cycle saw unprecedented engagement with youth voters.
Vice President Harris and former President Trump had been targeting Gen Z voters by using social media in their campaigns.
From participating in TikTok trends to appearing on podcasts, Gen Z voters have been flooded with different types of information.
But in the age of misinformation, how do young voters decipher fact from fiction? The Maroon's Marcela Baez tells us how.
Breaking news! One person has died.
In a world with unlimited news at your fingertips, college students say they are finding other ways to find news this election cycle, mainly social media.
People aren't getting their news just from your traditional news organizations anymore. It's purely social media for some people, especially for people in Generation Z and things like that.
Dillard professor and political analyst Robert Collins works in broadcast television. He said he has seen how students don't watch news from his class.
You know, I'm here on Fox 8 every week. I can tell you most of my students have never seen me on television because they don't watch television.
But this way of getting information doesn't come without its faults.
I feel it's a little bit more difficult to find the source of the content you're getting when it's on TikTok, because it's just kind of people ranting about information that aren't always citing their sources, versus online you can only kind of trace the source.
Collins said since social media has now become a job for some people, it increased the spread of misinformation.
They have incentivized disinformation because the algorithm will pay you more for disinformation than for objective information.
Clark says she always double checks information she sees online and believes everyone should do the same.
People really should be just taking the time to fact check. It's as simple as just doing a Google search or just doing a search and just going on there and just as soon as you hear something, be like, okay, let me just check this really quick.
From Wolfpack News, I'm Marcela Baez.
On Election Day, Loyola is providing free shuttles to the polls, and RTA is giving free rides on streetcars and buses.
Turning our attention to another administration, President Cole has been the subject of criticism on campus.
Student protesters are calling for transparency and for the university to cut ties with companies that support Israel.
However, President Cole said that he does not have the power over the war in Gaza and the endowment.
In the Maroon's latest issue, Cole said, "As president of Loyola, I have a position of power, but I also understand how that power is wielded. I govern with a large board. I have lots of help, and this is not a dictatorship. I'm not an autocrat. I'm not a king. I'm a higher ed leader that's responsible for the educational processes and formation of our students. So if anyone believes that I have outsized power to affect or shift or sway what's happening in the Middle East, they would just be wrong. But I would like to sit down and help them figure out who does hold levers of power, not here in New Orleans, but in Baton Rouge and DC."
October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. According to the New Orleans Domestic Abuse Fatality Review, the rate of domestic homicides in New Orleans has risen by 50% since 2019.
To raise awareness about domestic violence, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Chi Omega collaborated with the New Orleans Family Justice Center to host a conversation with students on campus. The Maroon's Alex Parton takes us inside the lecture hall.
Sororities Alpha Kappa and Alpha Chi Omega partnered with the New Orleans Family Justice Center to raise awareness about domestic violence. The discussion, held in Monroe Hall on Loyola's campus, taught students the importance of recognizing red flags, safety planning, and how to reach out to organizations like theirs in times of crisis. Lifetime member of Alpha Chi Omega, Reagan Parker, shares her gratitude for her sorority's collaboration with the New Orleans Family Justice Center.
And I'm really grateful for the AKAs for also co-hosting this with us and sort of taking the lead and hosting this conversation. We also, 90% of our funds that we raise go towards the New Orleans Family Justice Center.
Retired principal, teacher, and football coach Al Jones uses his experience mentoring young men to teach high school and college students about the importance of laws of consent and healthy relationships.
It's information, and what we want to do, and I'm so glad we're doing it, is bring awareness to domestic violence and sexual assault, rape, child abuse, stalking.
Speakers provided Loyola students with resources like counseling, legal services, and pathways for children exposed to violence. Director of Programs and Client Services at the Family Justice Center, Misty Fries, believes that the impact of her organization's work will continue to make a difference in the New Orleans community.
Until we start seeing our homicide rates drop, domestic violence homicide rates drop, then we could say we are on the right track. Right now, we still working and we're working hard.
At Loyola University, New Orleans, I'm Alex Parton, reporting for Loyola.
For more information and resources about domestic violence, visit the New Orleans Family Justice Center website at www.nofjc.org or contact them at 504-592-4005.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at an uptown queer-owned business.
Here is where your story continues. Stretch the limits of your imagination. Create the world as you see it. One letter, one word, one pixel at a time. Move to the rhythm of your own story. Make something more. For him and her and them, for the world. Do what you love. Tell stories like never before in state-of-the-art recording, news, and editing studios. Created just for you. Learn skills that will never expire. Document moments, seconds, frames per second. Turn them into masterpieces. Creativity is more than a lifestyle. Make it a career. Tune into the sounds around you. Those notes, you were always meant to sing them. Creative boundaries, you were always meant to break them. Become the creative professional you are destined to be at the Anchor Institution for the Creative Economy. This is a stage, a world stage. New Orleans, culture rich. Loyola, hands-on access. Make the next move. Perform and work immediately. We do things differently. Use your creativity to impact society. Expand your mind. Be with and for others. Continue your story in the College of Music and Media at Loyola University, New Orleans.
Uptown New Orleans has a lot of thrift stores to choose from. A new queer-owned business called Mary's Rack is open on Oak Street.
The Maroon's Maria DeFelice is there to tell us more.
Hi everybody, I'm Maria DeFelice. I'm right outside of Mary's Rack, right outside on Oak Street. If you look right over here, down there is where Mary's Rack is usually, open and thriving, but right now we're a little early for festivities and buying clothes. It's a secondhand, curated clothing store for everybody, and it's a queer-owned business. And we got to talk to Mary, who owns the business.
Welcome to Mary's Rack, a queer-owned curated vintage shop hidden in plain sight in uptown New Orleans.
Starting Mary's Rack was kind of my extension of teaching people to love having personal style, love finding those pieces secondhand.
Community and sustainability are what Mary says to be her top priorities.
And so building the community and letting people know, not only is there a really cool secondhand store, but there's somebody here who is going to be inclusive of you and whatever your lifestyle is, because chances are she's right there with you, you know what I'm saying?
She even loves sharing her favorite thrifting tips with her customers.
My biggest trick to thrifting is go prepared, you gotta have a mix of having a plan and also being open to any opportunity.
And they take her word for it.
I feel like you find the best clothes during thrifting.
She also creates a space for her clients to feel comfortable and welcomed.
The environment is super friendly and energetic, and you're able to kind of take your time with a lot of the things.
Mary's Rack curates clothes to specific measurements rather than reducing them to size.
So I've arranged my shop by measurements to make it easily shoppable. And I think that's the biggest thing that makes a difference in what my store is compared to other thrift stores.
Mary's employees also embody the inclusivity that she built her store with.
She created that environment because that truly is her, and in essence, she is such a welcoming person and inclusive to everybody.
Bye, baby. Have a good one. Come back and see me.
And if you want to visit Mary on Oak Street, she's open Wednesday through Sunday, 12 to 6 p.m. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Maria.
And a quick reminder that registration for the spring 2025 semester starts next week. Make sure that you have met with your advisor to be cleared.
Also, make sure to set your alarms to be prepared to register on time.
After the break, we'll discuss sports and take a visit to a popular house on St. Charles.
I'm Scott Howard. I'm the president of the board of Parks for All. We're an advocacy group, and so our job is to try to attract the interest of people like us so that we can have a more powerful voice in the community. And so we felt we needed a good website for that purpose. We pursued the Donnelly Center for assistance with that, and it really worked out very well. I really can't say enough good things about them. Parks for All is an all-volunteer board that advocates for improvement in our park system in New Orleans. The Donnelly Center provides a tremendous service to the nonprofit world. It's a free service, and the Donnelly Center's willingness and ability to bring some professional service to assist is invaluable, I think, for the city.
Loyola sports are in full swing with women's volleyball and the men's and women's basketball teams.
The Maroons' Abigail Schmidt gives us the rundown on Wolfpack sports.
Thank you, Frankie. What's up, Wolfpack? I'm Abigail Schmidt. The men's and women's basketball teams tipped off their seasons this past week. The men won their first game of the season against Suno by a score of 89-71 before losing their second game of the season in an exhibition against Division I opponents LSU. The women's team lost their first two games of the season against LSU Shreveport and LSU Alexandria, but sophomore forward Denia Thornton earned her first Conference Player of the Week award this week after a 38-point performance against LSU Shreveport. The women's team will get a chance to host Tulane's women's basketball team tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the Den for the first time since 1972. In Wolfpack volleyball, the team is currently on an 8-game winning streak as they travel to face the top team in their conference this weekend, the University of Mobile. The Wolfpack swept the University of Tennessee Southern this past weekend on Senior Day to improve their record to 7-4 in conference play. Middle blocker Amaya Bazemore was recently named the SSAC Attacker of the Week for the second time this season after her great play this past weekend. That's it for Wolfpack Sports. Back to you, Frankie.
Thank you, Abigail.
This past weekend, Taylor Swift held her 3-day-long Eras Tour at Caesars Superdome and brought a huge economic boost to the city.
Over 150,000 fans traveled to see Taylor, generating an estimated $1 billion in revenue for the local economy.
TSA lines last weekend stretched around the Louis Armstrong International Airport, making records as their busiest day to date.
In spite of long wait times, fans left the city happy and could be seen sporting Eras Tour merchandise.
As we leave the month of October, people still can't get enough of spooky season.
And as the Halloween spirit comes to a close, a popular local Halloween-themed attraction uptown is fully embracing the Taylor Swift craze.
The Maroons' Alana Thompson tells us more about it.
On St. Charles Avenue, the Skeleton House has annual Halloween-themed decorations that attract people from as far away as Colorado.
I just love it. I'm really not a Swiftie, but I think she's a wonderful person, and this is very unique. Very unique. And of course, she's going to be here this weekend. So the crowds are going to be crazy.
For some families, visiting the Skeleton House is an annual tradition.
Oh, I like this year's theme because I know this person likes this year's theme. We've been building it up the whole time. And so she was excited. We surprised him when we picked him up from school today to go to the Skeleton House.
This year's theme is an ode to Taylor Swift's weekend performance in New Orleans as part of her Eras Tour. Decorations include various renditions of Swift's album covers, alongside cultural icons and local celebrities.
I think it's amazing. Really something. I've never seen anything quite like it.
This year, the Skeleton House partnered with the Teal Pumpkin Project, which strives to raise food allergy awareness by offering non-food options for children on Halloween. Reporting from Uptown, this is Alana Thompson, Wolfpack News.
Thank you all for joining us this morning.
To stay up to date with news on campus, please visit the Maroon website or download the Maroon app, and have a good day.
Have a great day, guys.